Welcome to Planet Subaru, one of the largest Subaru showrooms in the world and the first powered entirely by the sun. Usually I like to pick sunnier days for these videos, if for no other reason than I don't like walking around in the rain. But given Subaru's outstanding performance in all sorts of different types of weather, I guess this rain is as good a day as any to introduce Subaru's most capable off-road Outback ever, the Outback Onyx edition that you see pictured here. So that rain lasted about 600 miles, which was as far as it took to get me to the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia, where I took a road trip. This is actually my Onyx edition Outback. I got out of my Ascent lease early because I had been so eagerly awaiting a turbocharged Outback, the first available since 2009 when Subaru discontinued the turbo option. When setting up its trim level offerings, Subaru usually starts with a base model, adds a few features to get you a premium, adds a few features to that to get you a limited, and then a few more takes you to a touring. The Onyx edition represents a departure from that approach. Subaru with the Onyx edition starts with a premium Outback, one step up from the base, and then adds very unusual features to it. So it's kind of like a limited, but it has a lot of stuff that you can't get on a limited, and of course the limited has a few things that you can't get on the Onyx edition. The Onyx edition comes standard, and it's the only way you can get it, with a 2.4 liter, 260 horsepower, 4-cylinder boxer engine. It returns 23 in town and 29 on the highway. Those figures are 3 miles per gallon less than you would get if you chose one of the other models with the naturally aspirated engine. 0 to 60 on this car is about 6 seconds, but it feels even faster than that because the torque curve is very flat and you get maximum torque output around 2,000 RPM, which is very early in the rev cycle. So if you've got a head of steam going already, maybe 30 miles an hour, and you floor it, it's going to put you back in your seat. The Onyx comes standard with a lot of hardware that's going to visually differentiate it from the other models. Glossy black wheels really make the car and have a remarkable way of changing the car depending on the color you choose. In the dark green color, it looks kind of like a Jeep Rubicon feeling. Just the way it looks really aggressively off-road. In this gray, which I prefer, obviously, it's the one I got, I find it very sinister and aggressive, sporty looking. If you get it in white with the black wheels, then it feels, this might sound like a stretch, but almost like the 5-door Ferrari FF or now the GTC Lusso. It just looks really European and sporty. So I encourage you, if you're interested in getting this car, to make sure you look at all the colors, and the more of them you can see in person, the better. Other features include a crystal black silica grille. This happens to be the sport grille. It's optional, but the factory grille is similar in that same color. Blacked out mirrors with integrated turn signals come with the Onyx, as does blacked out badging on the back. While we're back here, I'll mention that the car has a 3,500 pound towing capacity, which is greater than the naturally aspirated engine in the other models, which provides a 2,700 pound towing capacity. You get that 3,500 pound capacity in any of the turbo models. You also get dual exhaust tips in the turbo models, including this one. Onyx gets Subaru's first ever hands-free power gate, which you open by putting your hand near the Subaru emblem. I'll show you. You can also do that with your elbow, which is probably the way most people would use it, carrying a couple bags of groceries or something. And that's a full-size spare. The only way you can get that in an Outback is to choose the Onyx edition. I guess Subaru thought that since this was the more aggressive of the off-roading options for the Subaru lineup, that they ought to give you the chance to take care of yourself a little better in difficult terrain. Onyx also gives you 8 cargo tie-down hooks, 4 on each side. You can use your own straps, or Subaru has optional nets. Push button start stop, and also a keyless access system that you can use without a fob. So if you want to lock the car without taking the fob with you on a bike ride or a hike or something, you can do that. And you program the code into the car and just push the button on the tailgate in a particular sequence, the one you've programmed in, to open that. We have a separate video on that function. Subaru chose the Onyx edition to debut its first ever StarTex seating material. It looks like leather, feels like leather, cleans like leather, and has the durability of leather, but it's made entirely without the use of animals. The only piece of leather in the car you'll find on the steering wheel, that's still natural leather. Lime green stitching is used as a sporty accent throughout the interior. Onyx gets heated rear seats for the outboard passengers. The Onyx edition adds a few features to the eyesight system, including blind spot detection. That yellow light illuminates when you're getting past or there's a vehicle on either side. You can see that same light would illuminate over there in that portion of the mirror. Optional, there's an additional package you could get, which I did, which is the factory navigation with this big screen. Not going to spend a lot of time on that because we have a separate video devoted to this new touchscreen entertainment system. That package comes with navigation, a moonroof, and rear automatic braking. Those three features exist as their own package. The rear backup camera is now standard on all Subarus, but the Onyx edition gets you a front view camera too. Taking a look like there. Now, you wouldn't be able to see that concrete bench that's in front of the car were it not for this camera. It's good in settings like at home when you're trying to avoid driving over a bicycle that one of your children may have left in front of the car. But it's also good for off-road, so that you can see what you're coming up on that you can't see out of the windshield. Now we'll take it off-road. This is an old fire road. No, it doesn't get a lot of use, and it wasn't a really very good road to begin with. Always amazed when I'm in a Subaru, and the Outback's probably the best off-road of any of them. Just how comfortable and smooth it is. It has 8.7 inches of ground clearance. All the Outbacks do, so the Onyx is no different in that regard. But it absorbs bumps and ruts and doesn't really bounce you around that much. What you heard there was the eyesight system recognizing these weeds. There we go again. And you'll see that warning down there. There's a heads-up system for the eyesight system, which illuminates LEDs to let you know that there's an object in front of you. Of course, it's not slamming on the brakes because it knows that we're not going fast enough to cause an accident, so it's giving me a little leeway to push through this tall stuff. The eyesight system is optical. It's using cameras, so it's not like it's taking a look at the mass of an object like a radar would. It sees objects much like you and I do. Sometimes it can't tell whether the object is solid or not. So it errs on the side of caution and lets you know that you need to be looking closely. Coming up on a pretty serious grade here. The normal all-wheel drive system mode may be okay to get us up, but if not, we'll switch it into X mode and that should get us up. A little squirrely, but really no trouble at all. This is a little dicey here. We're crossing a creek, and I'm not sure whether the departure and approach angles are going to be sufficient in the Outback to get us through, but we're going to find out. Hopefully I don't need to call a tow truck. Coming up on a really steep hill here, and I don't think that the regular all-wheel drive system is going to get us up this. I think we're going to have to go in X mode. A little, yeah. So what's happening is the wheels are spinning. Subaru's symmetrical all-wheel drive is normally optimized for handling and fuel economy, and it's front-wheel drive biased. You'll see in this first few moments, I'm not in X mode. I'm using Subaru's regular, all-the-time, all-wheel drive. That's why the front wheels are spinning. They're getting a little too much power for the conditions. This second time, I'm engaging X mode, the deep snow and mud function. And you'll see, it's still a little bit squirrely, but I make it up. So now I've turned the car around and I'm looking down at this grade that I need to get down, and I'm getting butterflies because I'm not an experienced off-roader. But I made it up, so I think I should be able to get down. I've left it in the mode that got me up, which was the deep snow and mud X mode setting. And when you're in X mode, you have hill descent control. So I'm going to put it into drive, take off the park, and I don't need to touch the brakes. Like a mountain goat, the car is just gonna find the traction it needs all the way down. So I don't have the brakes on now. I don't have the gas on, obviously, either, but it's just holding me back, working me down. And my fears are relieved. You can learn all about X mode and a lot more at planetsubaru.com, the most highly trafficked Subaru dealer website in the world. And of course, thank you for watching.